there was this environmentalist by the name of Thomas Berry who wrote the book Dream of the Earth. Well, he said, what we should do is take all our sacred books, that's the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, the sutras, and put them in the shelf and leave them there for 20 years. And instead, learn from the scripture written in nature. So that's just what I did. I moved into a rocky mountain and lived for 2 years in this one-roomed cabin, and to learn from the non-human world. And as first I wanted to tell you, this was the cabin. Oh, my little thing doesn't work here.
Point it at the computer.
Oh, you have to turn it on. There we go. Okay, so right around there, you can't see it, there was a dilapidated old couch. And the little marmots used to come and sit on the couch and look up at the sun. And as the sun moved across the sky, so were their little heads. I just love those marmots. And so here's one. And oh my God, he's so cute. As Brian Swing said, all of life floods you with a celebration of itself. And that is what I experienced for 2 years. All I did was sit under a tree for hours and hours and hours. And you know what trees do, talk? And I would sit on a rock in the river and just watch the river. And as Chief Lion says, the grass giggles when it rains. The grass sings when it rains. And aspens giggle when tickled by the wind. So, in this wonderful creation that we have, everything lives in perfect harmony with everything else, and in consideration of everything else, said Hildegard Bingen. Welcome to biochemistry, or biomimicry, I mean. Who knows about biomimicry? Some of you? Well, this is a new discipline in science, and it's really creating what they call creating solution inspired by nature. So an example of this, my favorite one, is about Zimbabwe wanted this architect to build an 8-story building with a mall on the first floor with beautiful retail stores and restaurants and waterfalls, and the upper 7 stories would be of offices. So they hired this architect by the name of Mick Pierce. Now this was the trick. They wanted him to make this 8-story building in hot Zimbabwe to be self-cooling. Self-cooling. Well, Mick had no idea how he was going to do that. So he learned from nature. Who do you think he learned how to do it from?
Elephants.
Huh? No, not elephants.
Giraffes.
No. That's a good answer. Termites.
Oh.
Termites. So look at this wonderful picture. I put one in here to show you how big it is. The termite. And if you want to know about termite mounds, go online and look up David Attenborough. I hope you all know who David Attenborough is. I want to marry him. Myself and a million other women who stand in line. So he did this documentary on a termite mound, and he was in he crawled inside And it's just amazing, amazing. So David Attenborough, termite, okay? And you can also, go, building in Zimbabwe built by termites. But he learned how to do it by following and learning and watching termites. Here's the building.
Wow.
Awesome, huh?
Wow.
And look, it's got all the holes in it, just like a termite. Here it is on the inside. Isn't that great? I just think it's so cool. I think if we're going to save the planet, we have to work with nature. But there's an obstacle in doing that. Well, there's actually lots of obstacles. But the one I want to focus on a little bit is the obstacle in most of us called trauma. Well, I want to talk about how trauma and its resolved issues make it difficult for us to protect the planet. Have you ever heard of this guy, Dr. Gabriel Mate? His thing is trauma. He's a medical doctor and his expertise is trauma. And he says that when we are traumatized, either as a child or adult or in any way, it separates us, it disconnects us from our true being. And it disconnects us from one another and from the planet. So I'm bringing it up because, if we have unhealed abuse and trauma inside of ourselves, for which we have created addictions, then that need is so great that we can't put our time and energy in caring about the planet. Do you know what I'm saying? Did anybody relate to this? You're hurting so bad, so you go get drunk, and you forget about the planet or whatever it is. And I'm sharing this with you tonight very, very, very transparently because it's taken me 40 years to be able to heal some trauma that was sabotaging my work in the world. And that trauma was, as a child, my mother tried to kill me by holding me underwater or a pillow over my head. So, when you're traumatized, especially if you're an infant, you get suppressed. And it stays suppressed until usually when we get into our 30s, that pain comes around again and say, hey, I'm here. Fix it. And I discovered what had happened to me, and it was so painful that I couldn't even think about it. I couldn't even think about it for even half of a sentence. But so I went on with my life, and every once in a while that pain would come up. It was so excruciating, as you might imagine, a child having a pillow over its head. The terror that I felt was suicidal. And I went to some therapists, none of them were any good. A therapist can't help you unless they've gone through what you've gone through. Otherwise it's just theory. And so nobody been through that before. But what I discovered was the engaged Buddhism of Thich Nhat Hanh. And I started to study with him. Also, the centering prayer method of Father Thomas Keating. Who knows about that one? A few of you. So those two things, meditation and centering prayer, little by little, taught me how to be present with that terror. Be totally present with that terror. And finally, after 4 decades, I could be totally with it. I could be totally with it. And what I learned is what I want to share. I learned that if I stuck with it, that at the core of myself, I don't know what to call it. Some people call it a soul. I don't know what to call it. But at the core of myself, there was that place that was below thought, below feeling, below circumstance, of peace and joy. And no abuse exists in that place. And so the pain still comes up, I still go through pain, and I learn where to go. A place within all of us that is untouched. Nobody is raped there. Nobody is lynched there. Nobody is abused by their mother there. It's deeper than all of that. And it's accessible to all of us. So, with that knowledge, and the knowledge of working with animals who tell us, hey, take time to breathe and smell the flowers. They teach us how we can, an oyster, how we can turn a horrible thing into a beautiful pearl. Struggle to be free by a butterfly teaches us. You know, when they are in that cocoon, pushing, wanting to get out, it's the pushing that makes it possible, because that pushing makes the blood flow through the vein and makes it able to fly. And the river teaches us how we can just go around anything that's an obstacle. We can flow around it. And we, like the phoenix, can rise from the ashes. So is our world worth saving?
Yes. Yes. Yes.